Well, my attending said, "Hey, you can go home. We're gonna call in the backup resident to come in and cover." Instantly, I just had this state of bliss within my brain, like, "Wait, you told me I could go home and sleep? Oh my goodness, like, sleep is amazing." Like, you take away sleep for a couple days, like, all of a sudden, that's the only thing that matters. Like, you literally like, you'll die without water before sleep, but you'll die without sleep before food. Like, you'll have heart arrhythmias, like, the stress will be just through the roof, you need that, and so that's where the stress bliss pendulum was born. In that moment, I had been at the stress side, essentially, because I
Right.
was up for 30 something hours, and he's like, "You just go home and sleep, we won't call you till tomorrow," and then boom, it hit to the bliss side. And so stress is a blessing in disguise.
Welcome to the True Healing Experience podcast. I am your host, Dana Herrera, and with me today is Dr. James Leathem. Man, you guys, his story is absolutely incredible, and what we're going to talk about is going to blow your mind. Dr. Leathem is trained anesthesiologist. He is a DO, which is my favorite kind of doctor personally. And he has spent the last 13 years transforming lives and pioneering ketamine-assisted therapy that he uses as psychedelic therapy. And it has made a tremendous difference in patients who have anxiety, PTSD, chronic depression. And we're going to dive deep into the root and bring science and soul and the four dimensions of wellness, maybe some rap into the mix. And this is going to be a great time. Dr. Leathem, you were nominated by Forbes Shannon. How do you guys know each other?
Well, number one, thank you for having me here today, Dana Herrera, about to enter the Herrera era. I met Forbes Shannon through Aaron Bear. And Aaron Bear I met while I was at Genius Network at an annual conference. And then just over time, I went to the comedy show that Forbes and Aaron do. I actually was there last night, ironically enough. And I met Forbes and Forbes 500. We started talking. He's an amazing human being. I did the podcast, Extraordinary Stories with Forbes and Christine. And so it was through Aaron Bear that I actually met Forbes, and he connected us via text. And here we are having an amazing conversation, trying to uplift the U.S. nation.
Yes, sir. It is, man, it's going to be such a cool conversation. I think we could talk forever. We talked for 2 hours the first time we connected, just on all things. So today we're going to have a topic that we're going to stick to keep us from talking for 2 hours. And I think this topic will hit home with so many people. And ultimately, I'm going to let you introduce the theory that you've created. But ultimately, I think so many of us oftentimes want to get to the light without going through the dark. And it just doesn't work that way. What have you discovered as you've witnessed and experienced the duality of life and what you do and how you live?
That's a great question. I mean, definitely like looking at life through that lens of duality. Like, you can't have the dark without the light. You can't have the light without the dark. You can't have the sweet without the sour. So when you're in those dark moments, how do you still transcend that and say, okay, this is still happening for me, not to me? And I can't wait to meet that version of me in the future that's overcome this challenge, this darkness, essentially. We as humans, we also like want to assign good or bad to something when really there's just the isness of life, right? It's not
Everything
inherently
is
good or bad.
everything is neutral. Everything
Yeah,
is neutral.
yeah. Try to come at it
hmm
through that lens of just like the isness, and it's not good or bad. It's happening for me, not to me. And then you could definitely move and navigate through the challenging times, essentially, because life definitely has its challenges. But I want to actually like, let me throw this little quote in here real quick because I thought about this earlier. This is from your book, by the way. It says, "We are drowning in information, but starving for wisdom." E.O. Wilson. And that leads me into this, like, what then is wisdom? Wisdom is trauma plus healing equals wisdom. In short, no rain, no rainbow. No mud, no lotus, no pain, no gain. I don't make the rules of life. I'm just an interpreter. And so if we look at it, sure, through the lens of duality, because humans want to assign a label to something, we could try to make sense of it. But instead of the duality, just approach it as the isness of life. And that I can't wait, that this is a growth opportunity for me. I can't wait to meet that version of Dana or James or whoever you are on the other side that has gotten through that trauma and then healed it and turned it into the wisdom. Because that's got to be one of the goals of life, is to gain wisdom in this incarnation, to experience love, to have like a creative pursuit, to make an impact, be the change you wish to see in this world. And sure, you can approach it through the lens of duality. That's just one of the ways we do it. And so it's just looking at life through different lenses, different perspectives. That's really the key. And that's what ketamine provides, is a perspective view of your same life, of your same situation. I usually would do with patients this little analogy is, imagine all your problems in the world represented by this thumb. I know it's tough because if you're just listening to this audio, you can't see it, but if you're doing like a YouTube with us, you can see it. Now, when you first come into ketamine, all your problems are like right here, right up close. I
Mhm.
can't see my life outside my problems. And ketamine
Mhm.
just moves them right out here. They're still there. I can't take away your problems. I'm just shifting your perspective. Like zoom out, right? If you zoom out, then you can start to see like, oh wow, why am I sweating the small stuff? Never to minimize or dismiss what any human being is going through. But if you look at the grandeur of the universe, everything is technically small stuff, right? So if you go back to the duality, good or bad, it's still small stuff. We're so tiny, right? You can fit a million of our Earth inside of our one sun. Supposedly there's, billions or trillions of galaxies. I mean, it's beyond human comprehension. So just trying to like zoom out. And that's what this shirt is as well. This is like the zoom out quantum level, essentially, or the zoom in quantum level. It's all the same, whether you zoom out, zoom in. You can always zoom in further. You can always divide in half. You can always zoom out further. So, whatever you're going through in life, try to zoom out on your same situation. And it might be that sour moment, but know in the future it might turn into a sweetness. In essence, everything's a blessing or a blessing that's yet to be revealed. So,
Right.
how do you know that when you're in that cursed moment, that it's a blessing that's yet to be revealed? That might take years to play out. And sometimes it has, especially in my life. Like my prime example I give people because they're big statements. My dad drowned when I was 21 years old. He was 47. Horrible thing, 100%. Wish he was still here. However, it happened for me, not to me. And it was
Right.
the blessing that was yet to be revealed because I turned it into becoming a doctor. So I'm just here to inspire, to empower, to realize like you are the medicine. I have a bracelet here, me versus me.
You are
That's
the
what it is. It's you
medicine.
versus you of yesterday, right? And just
Mhm.
realizing that, get out of your own way, get rid of those self limiting beliefs, shed those layers. That's what the ketamine allows you to do. It's a catalyst for change, or I like to call it a catalyst for change, and
So,
then
so
go
that
ahead.
with the on the ketamine side, where did you first discover? I would love to just know, where did you first discover ketamine? Obviously, it is an anesthetic. It's a dissociative anesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Dissociative. But when did
Yeah,
you?
dissociative, correct. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I put
yeah,
the A in there. It's dissociative. Separation
dissociative.
of
Yeah,
mind and body, thalamus and
right.
cortex.
So when did you decide, from like a physician standpoint, I want to get into this. I want to look into this from a psychedelic medicine,
Yeah.
not just an anesthetic.
Totally, yeah, the origin story. So I'm a board certified anesthesiologist. So I finished my residency in 2015, and then I was working as a private practice anesthesiologist at a hospital out here in Arizona. And then COVID happened. And then as a COVID pivot, I was like, man, I know there's a mental health epidemic. I know
I was in
ketamine.
behavioral health at that point, by the way, and it was horrible, horrible.
Yo, it's 100%, totally. They say by 2030, and I think maybe it's already happened, the number one cause of global disability is going to be depression.
Depression.
And
Yep.
that's a condition of ourselves, of our mind. And so it's like, how do we move through that and try to turn look at the horrible times into better times and use it as a growth opportunity? I'm
Mhm.
always trying to flip the script, do a 180 on it.
Mhm.
So in 2020, COVID happens, my job changes, and then me and my two partners, Dr. Juan, Dr. Sharma, shout out to them, we COVID pivoted into ketamine. It was my idea to do it, but I couldn't have made this happen without them. And so we started doing that. What we would do is like one of us would be out doing anesthesia, and then two of us would be in the clinic. And then so we slowly kind of like grew this practice. And over the course of 2 years, we got to the point where, wow, now we all of us need to be in the clinic. Let's open a second clinic. And
Because it
so I
works,
also, yeah, it
right?
definitely works. And that's why like I'm very passionate about it because I've seen the results. I've seen the transformations. Like we've done over 15,000 ketamine infusions since 2020. Yeah, we have a program around the medicine. It's not just do ketamine and expect you're going to transform. It's basically the ketamine plus the daily integration practice equals a consciousness transformation. And that's the key with anything in life. It's those daily practices that keep you unstuck, right? And so that's really the story is seeing how well it's working. I know I love psychedelic medicine for my own personal evolution as a human being, and ketamine
Mhm.
is the only federally legal psychedelic. And so we parlayed our skills during COVID into this and then slowly grew it. And then we've gotten really amazing relationships over the years. Like one of them is called Being True to You. And those are our psychedelic integration coaches. So I can have people go through a program where they have an integration coach before, after infusions. I have a workbook that I co-authored with them as well. And so it's a program wrapped around the medicine. And it's also, you don't have to get all the big aha moments in the psychedelic experience. It's the neuroplastic window, the critical learning period that happens in the days following the infusion, where those neural circuits are more malleable and you can actually get real change. And so that's what I always try to emphasize with people is like the infusion's like the gym. Well, as
Right.
the saying goes, abs are made in the kitchen. They're not made in the gym. And so my infusion clinic is the gym, but then your home environment, what you're doing every day is the kitchen. And so what are you doing to, continue to progress forward? Because I give you a window of opportunity, right? Every single thing in life takes maintenance. I don't know the exception to that. If you know it, please tell me. I'm always looking for it. Everything takes
Doesn't
maintenance.
exist. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I tell people, hey, brushing your teeth works, right? Well, you have to do it every day.
Still got to do
Stop
it.
doing it for a few weeks. Doesn't work anymore, right? So everything, what is that daily brushing of the teeth, that daily practice essentially that we all have to do to maintain the results? But also you can get very stuck. Ketamine gets people unstuck very rapidly. It's the most rapid acting antidepressant in all of medicine, most rapid acting anti-suicidal agent in all medicine. And a lot of people are not aware of that. So it's also bringing ketamine into the top of mind awareness for people that, hey, I know if I have depression, if I go to my primary care doctor or psychiatrist, they might recommend SSRIs, talk therapy, and that's great for some people.
Well,
But
but the problem is, and this one, I went through this with my mom, is you go through multiple medications before you
yeah,
figure out what's right for you and what works. And you're on like a hamster wheel. It's not
correct.
solving anything. It's not
Yeah.
going to the root. It's just addressing a symptom. Yeah, it's bullshit as far as I'm concerned. Sorry.
Well, you nailed it. It doesn't get to the root. It just masks the symptoms. And a lot of times with people, it limits their emotional range. And you have to feel to heal. But people don't want to feel their feelings, but that's part of being human. Embrace the feeling of the feelings because you must feel to heal. It's a really important aspect. I love when it like rhymes like that, like feel to heal essentially. So it's easier to kind of
Hmm.
remember. So, long story short, it was the COVID pivot. And then, it grew over time and now I do it full time. I rotate through our Scottsdale and Gilbert clinics. In addition to the ketamine, something that's really amazing that we do too is called stellate ganglion block. So the stellate ganglion block, look at it as like a hardware reset for your nervous system, whereas the ketamine is like a software reset for your nervous system. And as a computer has software and hardware, we're like the human operating system. So if you can reset both and rebalance that patient, now they can start to heal more effectively, more efficiently versus just masking the symptoms. Ketamine is not going to work for 100% of people, but it's over 80% effective in our program, in our clinic. And we've been doing this now for 6 years. So it's an honor and
Pretty
privilege.
dang good.
Yeah, thank you. It's an honor and
Yeah.
privilege to really be able to administer this medicine, to hold space with human beings. Like as Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. And that's really how I look at it is I'm on that walk home with you. And, it's a remembering a lot of times that like you are the medicine, are we spirits in human form? I definitely align more with that type of vision, that type of perspective. And if that's the
Yes.
case, then I'm here to learn lessons. Well, unfortunately, the wisdom is the trauma plus the healing equals wisdom. No rain, no rainbow. I don't make the rules. I'm just an interpreter. So how do we embrace that? And embrace the suck. Like when you're in a tough time, like, oh, I can't wait to meet that future version of me that has like turned this into the wisdom and I've grown. Like, for any of the listeners out there, reflect back on your life. If you could think of a time in your life where you actually grew as a human that wasn't on the other side of a hard time, I don't know of any in my life. I don't. So that's just the reality of what we're dealing with here. So embrace it.
Yes, I love it. And obviously I'm a huge advocate and proponent and believer in everything that you've been talking about. The integration piece, I talk about that in my book. The medicine, the psychedelics are just it's the doorway, right? I consider it like you have a hallway to walk through before you get to the doorway and you have a
Yeah,
hallway after the doorway. It's just the doorway. And so I think it's helpful that the way that you explain that for people, the integration piece is 100% key. And it's a daily remembering. I
right.
mean, I have, if I skip multiple days, I end up in a totally different mindset and emotional state than if I make my commitment, my micro commitment to do what I know I need to do on a daily basis. And I would love for one day for there to be where you don't need a daily remembering, but I don't know that's ever going to happen. It's just, it requires maintenance every single day.
Yeah,
So I
every
want to,
day, like I just want to jump in right there real quick. 'Cause you said a lot
yeah.
of good things. Like every day is a new day. You get 86,400 seconds every day.
And
Brand
100% of the rest of your life left.
Totally, and today is the youngest you'll ever be for the rest of your life. So as they say, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. So when's the best time to change? If you didn't already change, right now. And only constant in life is change. So embrace that. It's really important. Everything in life is a tool or a weapon. Ketamine, love, money, friendships, like psychedelics, like everything's our tool or weapon. And so, yes, it opens the doorway, but am I doing this to connect to myself? That's a tool for change and positivity. Am I doing this to disconnect from myself? Now
Right,
that's the weapon, right? So just
right.
ask yourself that real question
It's the
whenever
intention.
it's
Yeah,
the
the
intention
intention behind it.
100%. Yeah, well, I think like in life, like a lot of people say, oh, we have a attention deficit disorder as a global species. No, we have an intention deficit disorder. We need to really have more intention behind everything we do.
I love that. An intention deficit disorder, 100%, because we're so damn distracted, right? Everything in the world is distracting us
It
and
is.
keeping us running on this program to feed the machine, if you will, right? And so
Right.
we have to consciously, intentionally break away from that identity, break away from that program. And that's why I love psychedelics and I love ketamine, because that gives you a real opportunity to, I think, to your point, in the quickest way, like see the program out here versus
Yeah.
being in it. You know what I
No,
mean?
100%. And people often say, like, ketamine is a psychedelic. And I do personally, this is kind of like a topic of debate out there. Is ketamine a psychedelic? Well, it's not a classic psychedelic because it
Yeah,
does
like
work on the
psilocybin.
totally.
Yeah.
But the word psychedelic means mind revealing. And so ketamine is very mind revealing. And so is life. So is being a parent, right? Breath work. Like there's so many different things that can be psychedelic. So it depends how loosely you want to use the term. I think if anything that's mind revealing is in essence psychedelic. So I do look at ketamine as a psychedelic, albeit an atypical, not a classic psychedelic. It definitely has psychedelic
Yeah.
properties to it, and we're giving this at a sub-anesthetic dose. You're gonna remember everything, right? So that's obviously ketamine is also an anesthetic, so you can give enough and someone can go to sleep. But we're giving at these lower levels, and it creates like a very unique shift in the brain where at general anesthetic levels, you actually get a decrease in glutamate, which is your most abundant excitatory neurotransmitter in the human brain. When you give sub-anesthetic levels, you get an increase in glutamate. And then
Mm,
glutamate acts on something called the NMDA receptor, but it also acts on the AMPA receptor. So ketamine's blocking the NMDA receptor. So now I have glutamate there. It can go basically park in the AMPA receptor, the AMPA receptor. And then that's going to lead to a downstream effect where you get an increase in brain derived neurotrophic factor. And that's really where the magic is happening. That leads to the synaptic plasticity, the neuroplasticity, the neurogenesis, because it's all happening in here. You have over 80 billion neurons inside the adult human brain, right? There's 8 billion people on the planet. You have 10 times as many neurons inside your brain. That's where it's all happening. Over 36 trillion cells inside your body and just as many microbes. Well, you are literally a living, breathing, conscious universe. And then
it's
realizing
incredible.
that, right? Your thoughts dictate your reality. Change your thoughts, change your life, right? So that's where it's all happening. It's where I try to really emphasize to people is like, I'm giving you this neuroplastic window. The ketamine at that lower dose is like this kind of this Goldilocks zone, this sweet spot essentially. And then what are you doing during and then in the days following to
Right.
get that rapid change in your life and then do that daily practice. And that's how we get unstuck. It's a remembering. It's also, there's something called the overview effect, right? Have you heard of this before?
No, the overview
So,
effect. No,
yeah,
tell me.
overview effect is when astronauts go to outer space and then they see the Earth for the first time in space from outer space. It's a
Right.
profound shift in your perspective of reality. It's like looking literally back at Mother Earth, like that's everything I've ever known, but I'm
Mhm.
looking at it in the vastness of this, black space. So then having that type of view on your life. And so you can forget that perspective, but you have to go back and re-remember that perspective. Because once I show that to you, it's within you, but then we can get kind of back to here again and not
Yep.
to here. And so I call it the interview effect when you do a
Mhm.
psychedelic because you're going within to get beyond how you're feeling. Whereas astronauts get the overview effect when they see the Earth in outer space. I have all these little Dr. Lathemisms or Latham theories essentially. So they're not premeditated. They just kind of come out in conversation.
Love the Latham theory. Speaking of a Latham theory, that's what we're gonna talk about today. Let's talk
Cool.
about the stress bliss pendulum. Is that what you call it?
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. This is my own original theory of thought. I will tell you actually like when it happened, it was 2014. I was an anesthesia resident at Michigan State. I when we would do call, you'd be on call Friday morning, 7 a.m. until Monday morning, 7 a.m. And as the resident, you were the one that was going to cover everything. Sure, you had different attendings that there with you, but like my attending, basically your boss, essentially anesthesiologist, was there with me on Friday. But then I had a new attending on Saturday and a new attending on Sunday. So they're changing, but I'm the same. And so I was up all night Friday doing cases. Half the day is Saturday, essentially. I think it was like noon on Saturday the next day. So it's like 30 something hours I've been up straight. And my attendant was like, dude, I can tell. Like, you look really tired. You look burnt out. I'm like, dude, I've been up all night. Like, I mean, obviously, like the attending's helping me, but I'm in the case and they're in the break room essentially. That's there in case like I need something, by call. And you don't want to call them. You look at that almost like a failure in a way. I don't want to have to call them.
Right.
I want to handle the business, like
Yeah.
prove yourself essentially. It's like the medical military. And so when my attendant said, "Hey, you can go home. We're going to call in the backup resident to come in and cover," instantly I just had this state of bliss within my brain. Like, wait, you told me I could go home and sleep? My goodness, like sleep is amazing. Like you take away sleep for a couple days, like all of a sudden that's the only thing that matters. Like you literally, like you'll die without water before sleep, but you'll die without sleep before food. like you'll have heart arrhythmias. Like the stress will be just through the roof. You need that. And so that's where the stress bliss pendulum was born. In that moment, I had been at the stress side essentially because I
Right.
was up for 30 something hours. And he's like, you just go home and sleep. We won't call you till tomorrow. And then boom, it hit to the bliss side. And so stress is a blessing in disguise. And really the way to kind of conceptualize this in your mind, we've all seen the metal ball where you pull it back and then you let go of it and it hits this metal ball and goes this way. Well, the bliss side can only go as far as you did go on the stress side. So if you never have high states of stress in your life, you can unknowingly never really have high states of bliss. Now, here's the cool part. You don't have to always go back to the stress over and over. You can just have it at one point in time in your life and pull upon that past experience to get to that bliss side. Like right now, I'm in a state of bliss. Like all I gotta do is have a conversation with a cool human being, right? Like no one's life is in my hands right now except for my own, right? I just got to find my words effectively and convey my message. This is a state of bliss. I'm just having a meal with my wife and son. State of bliss. So it's all perspective versus like you have to be constantly entertained to have that bliss state or to be on vacation.
Right.
I don't need
Right.
to. The other thing is stress and bliss, they end in double S's. And so I like little plays on words like that, like stress, bliss, pendulum. So always evaluate as a human being, where are you on the stress bliss pendulum? When it's Sunday and I'm about to go back to work on Monday, I'm going to move towards that stress side just a little bit. You
Yep.
got those Sunday scaries essentially. But when I go into work now, no one's going to die. Anesthesia, high stakes game. Like you're literally rendering people unconscious, taking away their drive to breathe, paralyzing them, all sorts of things. Very, very risky what you're doing there.
Yeah.
Now I might kill some egos, or ego death essentially. Shed the layers of the self limiting beliefs. Your ego is just your learned identity of self. So
Yeah.
asking yourself, is my learned identity right now aligned with my current edition or not? So I'm 44 years old, so I'm edition 4.4. And so whatever age you are, put a decimal in between your first two numbers. And then is that version of you showing up right now? Or is it that 18-year-old insecure version of you that
Right.
hadn't made it yet? Right? The
Right.
1.8 edition. Sometimes the 1.8 edition is trying to show up in 4.4 edition James, and I'm very aware of it. And so I got to stop it. Right? It's just that awareness is the key. Try to be always aware of like, what are my thoughts right now? Is that thought watering the weeds of my mind? Or is that thought watering the flowers of my mind, the positive? As the Native American parable was, the good wolf or the bad wolf, which is going to win? The one you feed.
The one
So
you
just
feed.
ask yourself every moment of the day from a level of awareness, am I feeding the positive or the negative right now? Right? Because you are the medicine. It is you versus you.
100%. a hundred
So,
percent.
I mean, that's a lot. I haven't ever explained the stress versus bliss pendulum, but that's kind of my explanation of it. Where are you on that at all times?
Mhm.
Have a level of awareness with it, and then can you shift to the bliss side because it isn't really that big of a stress in comparison to how good your life might be. Like come at life through the lens of gratitude. That's
Right.
another key aspect, and that's you
Yep.
can access the bliss easier too.
Well, and this is what I don't think people understand too. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. That's why athletes, pro athletes envision winning. That's what Bruce Jenner did to win the Olympics. He envisioned it in your brain. You teach your brain that you're accomplishing this goal, what it's going to feel like, and your brain doesn't know the difference. So you can do the same thing essentially in your stress bliss, right? You go
Hmm.
into your mind and you create that feeling and that moment of bliss without having to experience the stress again. And that's basically what you're saying. You don't have to go all the way over here. Once you've gone over here, you know what that's like, and then you know what the other side feels like, right? So you
Correct.
can create a practice in your morning where you're envisioning feeling that state of bliss and using gratitude as a tool to help you experience that. And that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza teaches, right?
Hmm.
It's the emotion, it's the feeling along with the thought that creates that heart brain coherence.
Hmm.
And I think that's why what you do is so key and so important. And I definitely would love, and we're going to talk about this at a later point in time, to integrate what you're doing into my next project
Yeah.
because it is difficult. It is difficult to get unstuck when you're like, you can't see the forest for the trees, right? It's like, where do I start? And telling people we'll start with meditation. That's not easy for most people, right? Just getting into a state of theta is not easy for a lot of individuals. And that's why I love this ketamine assisted therapy so much because it's safe, it works, it's effective when it's done right the way you do it. The integration, you really allow people to get unstuck to then begin their healing journey and their remembering journey.
100%. No, I totally agree with you. The ketamine, like think of like the things you're going to be offering in the future for the body to really be receptive to them, it needs to be in a relaxed state, a parasympathetic state. And so
Right.
also like
Out
the
of fight
more
or flight. not in
Exactly.
fight or
So,
flight. Yep.
yeah, ketamine can get you out of that fight or flight state. Same with the stellate ganglion block, especially when paired together. Like ketamine, I'll be full disclosure, is not amazing for anxiety in and of itself. Generally, there's like many diagnoses, like maybe you have depression and trauma, and that's what's causing the anxiety as well. So when you help the depression or the trauma, you're going to by default help the anxiety. But if someone's in this autonomic dysregulated state, they're not ready for stem cell. They're not ready for all these other meditations. We got to get them out of that sympathetic, encourage the parasympathetic. And then ketamine helps get you into, I call like a ketatation state, right? So like when you're in the medicine, I tell people like you're going to drop into theta brainwaves, right? Get you out of that beta brain, that high stress, problem solving brainwave state, drop you into that theta brainwave state. Now, what am I doing with that theta brainwave? Do it like a ketatation. It's like a cheat code essentially. Like a lot of times
Hmm.
people will tell me in 2 to 3 weeks with me with ketamine infusion therapy, they're having what they would probably have in regular therapy, like 2 to 3 years worth of time in 2 to 3 weeks. So
It's
it's a
like 20,
catalyst,
to
an
me, it's like 20
accelerant.
years of therapy.
Yeah, it's the neural circuits. That's where I really
Hmm.
think it's all happening. People always talked about like the serotonin deficiency. It's called the monoamine hypothesis of depression. That's why SSRIs are so popular. That we have monoamines are
Yeah, the
serotonin,
uptake.
dopamine, norepinephrine, right? So you have low amounts of monoamines that give you more serotonin with an SSRI, and then are going to help your depression. But that's been disproven. It's more neural circuitry. And so, what neural circuits are you basically rewiring every day because you feel stuck? This is Hebb's rule. Neurons that fire together wire together. Now I give you new pathways literally at a neuron level. And so you get unstuck because I'm giving you new roadways essentially at a microscopic neuron level. That's where it's happening. That's why the currently held belief on why does ketamine work so rapidly and robustly, it's the neural plasticity because that's where life is literally happening. That's how doctors think. Think at that microscopic, cellular, molecular receptor level. That's where life is literally happening. You as a human are just like a macro manifestation of it, yet we're still microscopic if you look at the scheme of the universe, essentially. Yeah,
100%. I know it's so insane. And
it is. It
I
is.
want to give the audience a visual. So think of it like a wheelbarrow, right? You have
Hmm.
a wheelbarrow and you go down the same path every single day, and that path gets deeper and deeper and deeper and
Correct.
deeper. What ketamine is doing is going, hey, instead of taking this path, let's start a new one, right?
Mhm.
Let's go right instead of going left like we've always gone. And just that change in going right instead of left is what now allows your brain to think differently, fire differently, create new perspectives. But until you do that, you're going to continue to live the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. And
Correct.
that's insanity.
Exactly. That's Einstein's definition of insanity. I'll tell people like your old pathways, even if they don't serve you, they're like super highways. And then the ketamine, I'm giving you like a machete and we're like going through the jungle.
Right. I know I've grappled with that concept too. We could do a whole podcast on that on
You
that.
could, totally. Yeah, like, we have so many, like, experiences in our lives, and it's so cool that we came together here to meet one another, like, synergistically, like, different perspectives that we can bring to the picture of a podcast. So hopefully this resonates with, the audience, people that are listening. You're probably driving into work or driving home from work, or maybe you're in the gym, and just think of, like, your current present moment. What is going on right now in your life? The only part of life that's alive is the present moment. Tomorrow's not born yet. Yesterday's history. You go back and live it in your mind as memories, but the only part of life that's alive is the present moment. And maybe it is a gift, and that's what we call it the present. So if you want to feel more alive in life, tap into the present moment with your breath, with your awareness, look around you, take it all in. Are you in a state of like bliss or stress? And be grateful for it all. Try to be, because your attitude determines your latitude. You got to come at life through the lens of gratitude. It's all about the lenses through which you're viewing your life, your life.
I love it. I love it. And just to add to that, because I'm getting a download.
Nice.
Social media, you
Yeah,
guys. Social media, when you get on social media constantly, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, it contracts your perception and your experience of life. And I
right.
know this from personal experience. When I take a break, everything expands around me. I can take in the present moment in its like entirety, being with my children or out or whatever I'm doing, and appreciate it. But when I'm on social media constantly, that loop of comparison, that loop of I'm behind, that loop of that person's better or more successful, it's constantly running in the background of my subconscious, even if I don't want it to. And so I think it's really important, and we talked about this, awareness. Just be aware of the things that you put in your body or you take into your mind or you take into your hearing, what you're listening to, because all of that is going to affect how you perceive the world and how you show up in the world. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah, it's an awakening. I hate that the word woke got stolen, basically. This is an awakening of the power of the self, an awareness of the present moment. And that's what really matters in life. So if you want to change your future, you do it by changing your present moment. It's just realizing what you're actually in control of, right? Not many things. People like a lot of times want to try to control everything, and it's just your focus and your response, and start there.
That's it.
You
That's
know,
it.
and definitely,
Yeah.
like, we all
Simple.
like because where's your focus if you're, like, doom scrolling, bed rot, doom scrolling, like, you're laying in bed thinking things are gonna get better because 'cause you're not feeling good. Your focus is then outside of yourself on the screen, and so you are disempowering yourself, right? Bring your focus back to yourself with your breath, with a body scan, with the present moment, right? Am I nourishing myself on the mind, body, spiritual level? And if I am, then you're gonna bring that energy back to yourself, and you will start to feel better. If you wanna shift your emotions, you got to get into motion. And just remember, we are human beings, not human doings. So sometimes you don't even have to do anything. Just being with the present moment is in itself doing something,
Mhm.
right? Getting aware of like this body is a vessel for the spirit. And so scan your body right now. If you're listening, look for areas of tension and give those areas attention
Mhm.
with the breath and with the conscious mind. Do you feel
Mhm.
like a little tension anywhere? What issues are in your tissues? Breathe into that area, observe it, and then as you exhale, imagine that tension leaving that region of your body. And just do that for a few minutes. And next thing you know, you're feeling just a little bit better. And sometimes that's all you need is that first step, right? That little bit of leverage, that little bit of momentum, and then you're starting to feel a little bit better. And then now it's day by day, moment by moment, inch by inch, life's a cinch, yard by yard, life is hard. If you want to win the day, you got to win the second, then you got to win the minute, then you got to win the hour, then you win the day, then you win the weeks, then you win the months, then you win the years, then you win the decades, right? You might lose some days in the week, but over the aggregate, did you win the decade? Did you win the year essentially?
I
Did you
love
make
that.
progress?
Right.
I feel like
Did
say,
you grow?
did you grow?
Mhm.
Well, get 1% better every day. What does that mean? Okay,
Mhm.
24 hours in the day. 1% of the day is just under 15 minutes. So, can you do something positive for yourself? 14 minutes and 40 seconds, I think it is. 1% better each day. I challenge you to do that. That's where we start. That's a 1% better every day. That's actionable. You can do that in your life. I want to give you actionable things, not just some big grand concept without giving you the specifics of what you can do as the human to shift your own personal condition. A lot of people
Mhm.
come in and they're like, "Hey, I'm depressed. I have fatigue. I have, brain fog. I don't sleep well." I'm like, "When's the last time you got blood work?" "Oh, I don't see a primary. It's been a few years." I'm like, "Well, you're 55, 60 years old. Let's look at your
Let's see
hormones.
what's going on.
Let's look at
Yeah.
your thyroid. Let's look at your blood work. Like common things happen commonly. No one has a ketamine deficiency. Nobody. And it would be
Right.
really like wrong for me as a physician to not look at some of the common things like if your thyroid's fine, your hormones are good and balanced, like, testosterone's good, if your female estrogen, progesterone's balanced, men need those as well, but testosterone's our dominant hormone. B12 is good, vitamin D, cholesterol's within normal range, like all these things, if they're all good, okay, cool. Now let's look at ketamine. But if those
100%.
aren't, let's start there
Start there.
because you might not
Yep.
even need the ketamine. So
Right.
my goal as a physician is to help you to become your best version of self, not just get you to do ketamine. No, I tell every patient that comes in the clinic, my goal for you is to get to the point where you actually never have to come and see me anymore. I'm here if you need me. And I think it's important to have that discussion with patients like day one. What's our long-term game plan together? Right? Because you are the medicine. I'll get you unstuck, and then life's gonna life. Things are gonna happen. But then how do you tap back into you and realize, oh yeah, the ketamine did reveal this to me, and I'm gonna continue to do this, and that's how I get unstuck again. And then the medicine's there if you need it as a rapid neuroplastic agent, essentially. So yeah, you are the medicine. Like that's why I wear the me versus me, because it's just you versus you of yesterday. Competition's an illusion. Even if you're in the Olympics, you're still just trying to do the best version of you, wherever your score might stack up versus the pack, then sure that relevant, there's competition there. But still be the best version of you and, focus on the present moment, that level of awareness of like, wow, even if I'm going through the crappy moment right now, is this still a blessing in disguise? Is this a blessing that's yet to be revealed? And how do I embody that every day? So your four dimensions of wellness touches upon all these concepts. I've only read some of it. I want to get into all of it. I also I probably need to do Audible. Is there an Audible of it?
I need to record it. You're like the 10th person that's asked me for an Audible. And I've been in healthcare for the last 16 years and I've met a lot of physicians, a lot of practitioners, and the best ones are the ones just like you
I appreciate that. It means a
who,
lot. Thank you.
yeah, no, you're phenomenal. You're following your calling, you're following the blueprint on your life. You are
Yeah.
helping people remember. And I believe that is the future of healing. The next era of healing is going to be remembering. and being able to provide the support and the tools and the resources for your patients and people to do that. And so kudos to you, and
Thank you.
just you have an incredible heart, an incredible soul, you're an incredible human. And I hope people who listen to this, I know that they're going to feel that. And I wish we had one of you in like every city and state.
But really, the
Yeah, that's
key is
great.
be your authentic self. Make an impact, be the change you wish to see in this world, and be your authentic self. And when you're your authentic self, you will feel liberated in this life. And that's one of the goals I would also say is to feel liberation, where you're not like being a unsincere version of yourself. You're not putting on one face and another behind closed doors. Like you're being authentically you. And so me being able to be out of the medicine cabinet with psychedelics is part of my authentic self because I was in hiding for over a decade. And so I know what it's like to kind of feel like being inauthentic, and that was part of it. So now being, a ketamine clinic owner and doing psychedelic medicine infusions on patients, it's allowed me to be truly authentic to myself in this life, and I feel liberated. So I try to really encourage people to try to, move towards that in their lives. So what is that? How can you be more authentic? Ask yourself that question. What does that mean to you? Right? What do you think is lacking on this journey of the authentic self?
And I will say, one of the things that I touch on, I'm actually speaking on, is moving out of the survival version. In order to become more
Yeah.
authentic, we have to move out of the survival version of ourselves. And we all have different types of survival, whether that's achieving, performing, being invisible, caretaking. We all have different versions of that. And what's really interesting is that animals, they move out of fight or flight in 30 to 60 seconds. They don't, like a gazelle could be running across the prairie, being chased by a
Mhm.
lion. The lion gets tired. He shakes off the feeling and then goes back to grazing. Isn't like, I wonder if that lion's coming back tomorrow. Oh, I'm never going over there again. I'm not eating that grass. There was a lion. They forget about it because they don't have a prefrontal cortex, right?
I love that you just talked about the shaking it off. The
Yeah.
shaking it off part, we
The
can't do
moving the
that as
energy.
humans. So the stellate ganglion block, after I block some patients, they will literally shake after. It's really incredible, actually. So you're doing that like primitive, reflex essentially, because
Yeah.
that gazelle doesn't have time to dwell on what just happened. If it did, it
Nope.
would get eaten. It has to move forward. But us as the human, prefrontal cortex, the conscious mind, essentially, we're sitting there thinking about, oh, like, oh, geez, that just happened. I just got into a car accident. Whoa. You're right. So, but you
And for
can.
decades, right? For some
Yeah.
people, right? Something happened
You
maybe
stay
10, 20
stuck.
years ago, and you still show up as that version, to your
And the
point, the
body is holding
1.8.
on to that. Yes.
Yeah. And the body's
Yeah.
holding on to that. That is
Yeah,
where
you gotta
what
feel
you do is
safe.
so important.
Yeah, you have
Yes.
to feel
Safety.
safe first, so, like, they're in that survival mode, so they don't feel safe. So,
Hmm.
with every patient in my clinic, the first step is always safety, and then I have to get you aware of what we're trying to change, and then we have to have the agency to make the change, and that's gonna then lead to a transformation. So,
Yes.
safety, awareness, agency, and transformation. Not the
Yes.
SAT
I
like you're
love it.
going into college, but SAAT. Dr.
The
Leathem
better
theory.
SAT.
A
I
better
love it.
safety,
I
awareness,
think
agency, transformation.
so. Okay, last question for you. So, if people want to find you, if people are like, you know what, I really need this kind of help. I would really like to look into this, and they want to travel to Arizona. How do they? What's your website? How do they find you?
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to bring this. I'm here to educate, entertain, inform, raise awareness. So we can find us at a couple different ways. Number one, just call the number 480-631-4800. You call that number, we'll get you lined up. Talk to one of our receptionists. If it's after hours, leave a message. You can even text that number as well. Other ways, if you want to see a lot of my content, psychedelic_DRS, psychedelic doctors. And I know psychedelics kind of crazy to spell. A lot of people mess up. So PSYCHEDELIC_D as in dog RS. Right. And then or you go to our website, advancedwellnessandpain.com, and is spelled out. We're in Scottsdale, we're in Gilbert. I have lots of resorts right around me as well. People do medical tourism. They'll come stay with me for 2 weeks and really kind of get the reset that they're looking for in a vacation. Now you could just do infusions like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then on the days in between, you could really enjoy the Scottsdale area. Granted, it's hot right now, but there's still things to do. So if you came out here like when it's winter somewhere else, like say like November through like April, it's absolutely beautiful. Go hike, get into nature, right? Maybe we're doing sound healings on the days in between. Like
Love it.
yeah, this is a true reset, and the ketamine
Mm-hmm.
can catalyze that. So I've had plenty of people come from Texas, out of the country, like a medical tourism to do this reset essentially. So look me up on those websites. We do free in-person or virtual consultations, 45 minutes with a board certified anesthesiologist, me or one of my two partners. No charge at all. I will give you my time and then see if the energy feels right for you. If you want to invest in yourself in this process. So really you have nothing to lose but your time. You got 5 things you can spend in this life as a human. It spells TAMI: time, attention, money, effort, and energy. You don't have to give any of your money. Just give me your time, attention, and effort and energy, and then I will show you what we can offer you if it seems right based on what you submit to me. We'll go through medical history, survey scores, all those things. This is above board. This is, this is legal, right? This is not the gray market, the black market, the underground. This is legal, above ground. The only federally legal psychedelic is ketamine for right now. And it is, I think, one of the best places to start in psychedelics if you've never done a psychedelic, because it is the most controllable psychedelic medicine experience on planet Earth, because I can literally, via IV infusion, just press stop and then bring you out
It's
of it in less than 10
fantastic.
minutes. Yeah, so like I can really prepare you for the other psychedelics as well. If you
Right.
want to, psilocybin, ibogaine, ayahuasca, all those different things, ketamine prepares you for those other bigger non-ordinary states. I call those basically Mount Everest of psychedelics. Ketamine is kind of like Camelback Mountain. That's our local mountain out here. Hour up, hour down. Most people can handle a hike up Camelback. And so, yeah, just reach out. I'm here to help you. Like, if this resonates with you in any way, if you feel that little, that which you seek is seeking you, Rumi the poet, then feel that little itch, scratch it, reach out, and then you have nothing to lose. You'll gain some, knowledge and information, and I'm here to help you. Really, we're all just walking each other home, so remember that. And I'm here to lift you up, not just walk past
Thank
you
you.
when you're down.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Dr.
Thank you
Latham.
for this
Thank,
opportunity.
thank you. Absolutely.
I got a comment. We matched unintentionally with the green screen and your
We
green top.
did. Because we're in sync, right? Or
Exactly.
I have this theory. I have a tendency to text people or call people, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I was literally just typing your name." And I have this theory that our souls communicate
Yeah.
before we communicate in physical form. And so I just listen to that stuff, right? As soon as I get the little ping to reach out to somebody, I do. As soon as I get the ping, wear that green dress. I don't question it. I just do it. That's another tip, right? When you feel your intuition nudge, listen, because I think so many of us are like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Just be aware and listen and do it and just do it. Right.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Can you tap into your intuition by being more aware? It's called
Hmm.
intuition, not outtuition. So go within. The answers are in there. Can you get so quiet with yourself that you can literally hear your soul speak to yourself? Get quiet for 5 to
It's
10 minutes.
incredible.
Yeah, try to quiet the distractions in your external environment for 5 or 10 minutes and just listen. See what starts to come up to the surface for you. That intuition.
It will
100%.
change
Yeah,
your
like I
life.
love, hopefully, the listeners fund is valuable. Maybe we do a part 2 in the future.
Yeah.
Things evolve, and definitely like a synergy here. You know, uh, Thank you for bringing your extraordinary story to the world. Together, we are extraordinary. Be the extraordinary version of yourself by being the best version of yourself. Imagine if every human being on planet Earth strive to become the best version of themselves. What would this world look like? That's possible. World peace, 8 billion people, probably not possible. However, find your inner peace, change the immediate world around you. That is possible. So it does start with us. Be the change you wish to see. And that's what I'm doing. To summarize it, I'm being the change I wish to see in this world, and just here to empower others, on this journey home.
Same. Same. Mic drop. I got nothing else after that.
Your
That was a
vibe
perfect
attraction tribe.
close.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect close. And we will definitely be doing a part 2 because we're going to be doing some amazing things in the future. I can see it. I could feel it. I just know. So when all of that starts to roll out and we start down that path, we'll bring the audience back in and let them know what's on the horizon. I know it. So
Yeah, and you
thank
can
you
put
so much.
perspective too. Like, hey, to the listeners, you just experienced the Herrera era. The visions are getting clearer. Look in the mirror. You got the answers. We're all diamonds in the rough coming through. I just wrapped it up with a little rap right there off the top of the dome, on this
I
microphone.
love it. I love it. That's one of the many reasons I love talking to you.
Just be in flow. Just be in flow. Like
Be
Aaron
in
says,
flow.
peace, love, and gratitude. Just have fun with it. Can
Yep.
you have fun right now? Like, try to have
Yeah.
fun, because like life is so short in the grandeur. Even if you live for 100 years, it's still just like that, so
Nothing.
quick.
Yeah. Don't one of my Van Wilder, my husband, when I met him, that was his favorite quote. Don't take life so seriously. You'll never get out alive.
Totally. Have fun with it. Have fun.
Yep. Have
Thank you,
fun.
Aaron and Forbes, for connecting us and making this happen. The Herrera era, the visions are getting clearer. Until
It's
next
going to be
time,
amazing. Thank you, Dr.
appreciate you.
James.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the True Healing Experience podcast with me, Dana Herrera, where science meets soul. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe so you won't miss any new episodes released weekly on Fridays. To learn more about my book, The 4 Dimensions of Wellness, and the True Healing Experience, go to www.theco.life. That's www.theco.life. Until next time, I'm Dana Herrera, and this has been the True Healing Experience, an extraordinary podcast.